You've been moving through challenges that would have broken most, yet here you are, gathering wisdom in places where others only found blame. It's no coincidence that certain doors closed and certain people vanished. Those moments weren't random chaos but subtle signals pointing you back to your core. Instead of seeing loss, you learned to read the patterns, to notice which storms revealed the shape of your soul. Those who tried to test your spirit never realized they were helping refine the very strength they once doubted. While others played roles in their own dramas, you were quietly becoming unshakable, preparing for a life only the rarest are called to experience. Now, the balance is shifting, and all that silent endurance is about to take on new meaning. One that will leave even your critics questioning what truly shaped you. Sometimes the universe throws you into situations that test every ounce of your intuition. And still, something inside refuses to let go of compassion. Maybe that's why you've always sensed when motives felt off, even if the world told you to ignore your gut. Not everyone around you was searching for connection. Some arrived with blueprints, mapping out each move long before you even met. Manipulation didn't walk in with obvious warning signs. It unfolded in layers. First, curiosity that mirrored your own, carefully tuned to your reactions, your hopes, even the things you barely dared to admit to yourself. In the background, subtle calculations marked every act of grace and every silent boundary. What looked like genuine interest was just quiet data gathering, as if someone was preparing a script using your own heart as the research. But the real intrusion came when trust began to feel like shared breath. Their presence wound itself so tightly through your days that imagining life without it felt like stepping into silence after years of music. Empathy became the bridge they crossed daily, and forgiveness the well they kept drawing from, always expecting more. They painted themselves as a remedy, hiding the fact that they were the slow drip of what needed healing all along. They took endurance for fragility, and hope for naivety, never understanding that the courage to keep loving, to keep rising, is a kind of power reserved for those meant to move worlds. Not everyone has the resilience to rebuild after someone has tried to rearrange the very fabric of what's real. Yet somehow, you kept waking up with a new layer of understanding, even when it felt like your world was spinning sideways. There's a rare strength in those who learn to trust themselves again, piecing together truth from scattered fragments and refusing to let confusion become their new normal. When reality started to blur, it didn't happen all at once. Little adjustments crept in. A sudden silence when you reached for honesty, a smirk that made you question whether your feelings had a place, casual words that slipped past you but left a bruise. The routine of self-doubt became so familiar that soon, questioning your memory felt safer than challenging the illusion. Everyday interactions became a stage for subtle performances, each one quietly rewriting the story, as if your own mind needed permission to remember. Yet beneath the surface, change was underway. The very attempts to cloud your judgment ended up sharpening an inner wisdom, one that doesn't ask for outside validation. Each false narrative only made you more alert to what rings true. The habit of having to check your own mind built a sensitivity to deception so refined that, in time, no mask could hide its intent. Where confusion tried to take root, discernment quietly blossomed, preparing you for a reality where only authenticity survives. Some souls are born with an inner radar that picks up on patterns long before others sense a shift, and you've always known when something wasn't right, no matter how well it was disguised. Every setback, every challenge, even every heartbreak had a rhythm to it, almost as if unseen hands were orchestrating chaos just as you began to get your bearings. That's not a coincidence, and it's not your fault. It's a mark of how powerful your journey truly is. None of these trials landed at your feet by accident. Just as your strength began to grow, adversity adjusted its tactics to keep pace. As soon as the light within you grew brighter, a fresh storm appeared to dim it, testing how far you'd go to hold on to hope. This wasn't simply people acting out of habit or confusion. It was a deliberate campaign aimed at your core, timed so perfectly that recovery felt impossible. Those pushing against you could sense a shift in your spirit, a frequency they didn't want to see rise. But as pressure mounted, something unexpected awakened beneath the surface. Each attempt to undermine your healing was met with an upgrade in your insight, a new level of clarity you couldn't have reached otherwise. Even as you were surrounded by attempts to throw you off balance, you found yourself growing more attuned to subtle truths. Your ability to care was twisted and turned against you, But that same sensitivity became your secret weapon, strengthening your discernment and allowing you to stay true to your own direction, no matter how fiercely the world tried to reroute you. Some people spend their lives repeating old cycles, never realizing that their choices create ripple effects in ways they'll never see. But there are a rare few who break the loop, and you're one of them. Enduring what you did was never about simple survival. It was about waking up to just how much your journey could rewrite the story for others, too. Growth wasn't handed to you in comfort. It was carved out of adversity, and every step you took toward honesty opened invisible doors for people watching from a distance. Every twist in the story played out under universal laws no one can bypass. The harm directed at you didn't just vanish. It gathered momentum elsewhere, waiting to rebalance in ways the architects of harm never imagined. The universe, unseen and exact, always finds a way to restore what was tipped off balance, and all those moments you spent doubting yourself were quietly setting off a chain reaction that would echo far beyond your own life. But here's the deeper truth. You weren't put here to simply absorb pain. You set things in motion, even when you didn't know it. Your willingness to shed old patterns, refusing to carry what wasn't yours, choosing to stand firm when it would have been easier to disappear, set a new standard that those around you couldn't ignore. Every time you chose self-respect over self-sacrifice, the old structures that thrived on your silence began to fracture. Those who wagered you'd remain quiet underestimated the force of a spirit determined to reclaim its voice. When you finally decided to let go of what wasn't serving you, the illusion they clung to unraveled, and the truth that had been waiting for you all along finally found space to breathe. When transformation begins within, there's always a moment when old patterns try to pull you back with every trick they know. And yet, there's a clarity that grows in silence, stronger than any noise from the outside. It's not about holding on to grudges or seeking payback. It's about understanding that you're finally operating from your own truth, no longer tied to the weight others tried to place on your shoulders. Walking away isn't weakness. It's the ultimate expression of knowing your worth and honoring the rare gift of your own journey. There's an art to using someone's own strategies as fuel for your growth. When guilt and peer pressure made their entrance, when others were sent to twist your perspective with talk of forgiveness or healing, something subtle changed. The old habits that once convinced you to shrink or second-guess yourself no longer had a grip. Boundaries, which were once painted as selfish, became the foundation for your freedom. Real love stopped being about endless sacrifice, and instead became a radical act of self-respect, a signal to everyone watching that you can wish others well and still walk away for good. The shift didn't go unnoticed. The moment you stopped playing the assigned role, everything around you started to unravel. What looked like concern was actually panic. Suddenly, those who fed off your energy could no longer access it, and their bravado faded fast. The connections that once drained you lost their hold, and what remained was a field of authenticity where only genuine connections could survive. Attempts to shame or confuse you began to fall flat, bouncing off a new strength that doesn't need outside approval. Consequences always follow cause, but this isn't about vengeance, it's about balance. The distortions and shadows cast by others are now illuminated for everyone to see, and what was once hidden has become undeniable. The real lesson wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about restoring truth, and making space for the kind of growth that only comes when you're willing to let go of everything that no longer belongs. Rarely does one person's inner revolution ripple out and change the whole landscape, but every honest step you've taken has become a spark for others hungry for truth. What started as a solitary act of courage has become a beacon, quietly reminding countless souls that it's not only possible to break free, but that their freedom matters. No longer is it just about individual survival. Now it's about how your transformation lights the way for others, creating a wave of change that sweeps away the old ways of hiding and pretending. Individual change didn't stop at your doorstep. By standing your ground, refusing to betray your own heart, and living out loud, you inspired a silent uprising in those who watched from the shadows, waiting for proof that something better was possible. The isolation you once felt has dissolved into a sense of connection, a gathering of like minds, finding one another across the distance, sharing the codes for breaking invisible chains. Now, the very blueprints once used to control are being decoded and dismantled. Those tactics that were meant to keep you small are being exposed for what they are, stripped of their power in the bright light of collective awareness. Your story is no longer something to hide, It's an invitation for others to reclaim their own narrative. The boundaries of what's possible are shifting, and each soul that steps into truth helps tear down the old illusions for good. What once felt like a solitary battle has become a chorus, a momentum so powerful that it's reshaping the reality everyone thought was set in stone. For some, it takes lifetimes to realize that energy can be reclaimed, that the story of not enough was never truly theirs to carry. But breaking free isn't just about leaving the old behind. It's about dismantling systems built on the backs of the sensitive and the aware. When the decision is made to stop fueling what drains you, an unseen chain reaction begins, quietly undoing the architecture of manipulation that's existed for generations. What once felt like a private struggle turns out to have global consequences, because those same tactics have been repeated endlessly across families, cultures, and institutions, woven into the very fabric of old survival codes. It takes rare courage to stand at the crossroads where repetition could have continued and instead choose the unknown. Each time the cycle was challenged, something ancient shifted. Pain intended to keep repeating itself was stopped in its tracks, rewritten into healing that echoes in both directions. Healing wasn't just a personal act, it was a ripple, crossing boundaries of time and blood, mending what was broken long before you and protecting those who will follow. Isolation is the oldest illusion, but guidance never left your side. In the loneliest nights and most confusing seasons, help arrived quietly, in words that seemed to appear out of nowhere, in kindness from unexpected places, in those moments of sudden clarity that seemed to pierce the fog. The sense of being forgotten was the biggest trick of all. Behind every struggle, support was gathering, aligning itself with your next step. What felt random was really part of a larger choreography, with allies and opportunities arriving precisely when needed, ensuring that not only would you rise, but you'd rise with reinforcements that your adversaries could never touch. The most powerful changes happen not by accident, but right on schedule, when a new voice is needed to break the silence and disrupt the old patterns. That's what makes your journey so important. The exact moment you stepped out of the shadows wasn't just luck, it was alignment with something much greater than yourself. Every part of you, forged by trial and reflection, brings something essential to this time in history. What looked like a personal breakthrough was actually a turning point, shifting the momentum for everyone still searching for their own way out. Those who tried to keep you small built their confidence on a foundation that only works in darkness. Once awareness shines through, every trick and disguise loses its power. Their fear isn't just about losing an individual. It's about realizing their whole structure depended on people never looking up, never asking questions, never reclaiming their own energy. You didn't just free yourself. You exposed the emptiness at the core of their supposed control. A new network is forming from the ashes of the old. People drawn to each other by a resonance that can't be faked or bought. Every conversation rooted in honesty, every relationship built on trust, every step toward clarity is a thread in a vast new tapestry. The stories you share, the courage you show, the boundaries you protect, they're all blueprints, teaching others what's possible and shifting the world away from old cycles for good. What you started isn't just about today. It's the beginning of a reality where no one has to settle for the illusion of power ever again. Every soul that chooses healing over hiding changes the world in ways that echo through time. The wisdom earned from hardship doesn't stop with you. It ripples forward, shaping a world where younger generations will recognize and name the very games you had to survive in silence. Experiences once lost in translation will become common knowledge. The secret weapons of abusers will become public lessons, and the courage to stand up for truth will be inherited as a right, not a rare rebellion. Your journey is reframing the past, rewriting stories from the perspective of the overcomers, and exposing old myths that served only to keep the cycle alive. What once threatened to undo you has become undeniable evidence, shifting public awareness and restoring balance. The tools of control once wielded in the dark are now seen in full daylight, powerless against the clarity you now carry. The systems built to keep you quiet are being dismantled by the very truth they tried to bury. Where shame and silence once stood, there's now testimony that empowers others to step out of the shadows. The pain that once felt isolating has turned into a source of collective wisdom, arming new generations against the very forces that tried to keep you caged. Justice, in its most profound form, isn't about payback, it's about transformation. The energy that was meant to weaken you now fuels your strength, and every attempt to rewrite your story has only made your truth more visible. The very complexity of what you endured becomes clear now. Strategies that once felt personal were orchestrated campaigns designed to fracture your sense of self, to block your path and turn growth into a liability. Yet, with every attempt to distort your narrative, you became more rooted in authenticity. Your healing became undeniable proof, and every step toward wholeness made their tactics more transparent, shifting the balance, once and for all, in favor of truth. Not everyone has the courage to walk away from the noise and step into the stillness where their true voice can finally be heard. But those who do, those who risk standing alone to reclaim their dignity, find a kind of freedom that no manipulator can follow. The moment you stopped fueling the dysfunction, the whole pattern began to unravel, no matter how many masks or tricks were thrown your way. Desperation became visible in every attempt to pull you back, and the more you honored your boundaries, the clearer it became that you had outgrown their entire game. Real power can't be borrowed or stolen. It's built quietly from within. Your transformation didn't happen overnight, but through countless moments of doubt, reflection, and hard-won self-belief. Where uncertainty once lived, there's now an unshakable sense of direction. Your instincts, once clouded by other people's narratives, have become sharp enough to spot even the subtlest attempt at manipulation before it starts. The scars you carry aren't just reminders, they're credentials, evidence of growth that no one can deny. What they never expected was that you would rise stronger, not weaker, for having gone through the fire. They may try to rewrite the story, to find sympathy in the crowd, to claim the role of victim, but the contrast between your peace and their chaos tells its own story. The old games have no effect on you now, because you no longer need outside validation or permission to live your truth. Their whole framework depended on you staying silent, but the moment you chose yourself, the illusion crumbled. The clarity you embody isn't just for your benefit. It's a light that makes the path visible for others still tangled in confusion. Your journey becomes an invitation, proof that it's possible to thrive after leaving behind what never served your highest good. The new strengths you've developed, intuition, discernment, wisdom, are the very tools that will help others do the same. And while some will cling to old narratives, reality always catches up in the end. What you carry now is a gift not just to yourself, but to every soul searching for their own way out of the maze. The aftermath of your transformation sent shockwaves through every dynamic that once depended on your silence. Old allies who benefited from your compliance began to sense that the rules had changed. The familiar scripts, the calculated guilt, the sudden flattery, the promises of change, lost their effectiveness. People who once felt in control found themselves bewildered, searching for a way to re-enter a world where you were no longer their emotional anchor. Your absence became the mirror that forced them to see the emptiness in their own lives, a silence that asked questions they weren't ready to answer. As you stepped further into your own wholeness, you noticed new capacities emerging, abilities that seemed dormant for years, now rising up with undeniable clarity. Relationships shifted, opportunities appeared in unexpected places, and strangers recognized something in your energy that words couldn't express. You moved through the world with a quiet certainty, untouchable by the storms that once threatened to sweep you away. It wasn't arrogance. It was the deep peace that comes from knowing nothing outside of yourself can shake the truth you now carry. Those who had relied on confusion as their weapon found themselves unarmed. Your confidence made every passive-aggressive jab fall flat. Attempts to provoke old wounds met only with your steady gaze. Friends and acquaintances began to notice the contrast. Where drama once followed, now there was only calm. The more you honored your own journey, the more it became clear that real power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering your own response to their chaos. This shift didn't just change your life. It inspired others to start questioning the systems that kept them small. Now, your very presence acts as a catalyst for awakening wherever you go. People feel braver in your company. Secrets that once felt shameful become stories of survival and victory. Your ability to sense motives and see through facades becomes a lighthouse for those still finding their way out of confusion. Each conversation, each boundary, Each act of self-respect is a ripple that spreads far beyond your immediate circle, reaching people you may never meet. In this way, your healing continues to multiply, echoing through lives and generations, changing the very landscape of what's possible for everyone who follows. Some spirits are sculpted by adversity into exactly what the moment calls for, a presence capable of holding space for healing far beyond their own story. The journey through shadows wasn't about punishment, but about refinement. Nights spent wrestling with loneliness became a source of deep resourcefulness. Betrayal turned into a teacher that illuminated the value of discernment. The moments that left you questioning your purpose quietly recalibrated your path, unlocking gifts that the world desperately needs right now. These new strengths, born from hardship, become both a warning and a shield for others, making it possible to spot deception and protect those walking the same path. Those who attempted to exploit or diminish you are now witnessing a principle older than any law made by hands. The world itself corrects imbalances in its own way, echoing back every intention and action with precision. Attempts to undermine you have set in motion a current of events they can neither predict nor prevent. When the natural order steps in, even the cleverest manipulation falls away, leaving only the truth and the lessons it demands. But your gaze isn't tethered to the past. With every step forward, your vision widens, drawn toward new possibilities others cannot even sense. While the architects of old systems tried desperately to maintain control, you're busy drafting blueprints for a new reality. Every boundary you set, every honest word you speak, is a signal to others that it's possible to build something lasting from the ashes of the old. The strength they once tried to turn against you has now connected you to allies you never expected, each one adding to a movement that cannot be contained. Now the story comes full circle. The scales have tipped back into balance, not through retribution, but through the silent, unstoppable force of universal order. All the trials that seemed random were part of a larger choreography, preparing you to embody the answers this era is hungry for. Your scars have turned into signatures of wisdom. Your voice, once silenced, now sets the tone for a new era. The world isn't waiting for you to ask permission to shine, it's already realigning around the light you bring. The price has been paid, the past transformed, and the horizon is open before you, ready for the next chapter that only you can write. With every step you take away from your old identity, you carve new pathways for others to follow. Paths that lead through honesty, vulnerability, and unwavering authenticity. The quiet resolve that anchors you now was born from thousands of unseen choices, each one a testament to your resilience. You didn't just learn to survive adversity. You learned how to turn every trial into a teacher. Each challenge became a sculptor, chiseling away the unnecessary so that your true self could emerge in sharper focus. It's this version of you, grounded, clear-eyed, and free, that the world needed all along. Every room you walk into, you carry the subtle gravity of someone who's done the inner work. People might not be able to name what's changed, but they feel it. Your words hold more weight, your silence is more profound, and your presence brings a calm that can't be shaken by chaos or drama. Those who once doubted your transformation now find themselves rethinking what's possible for their own lives. They witness how you handle conflict, how you set limits with kindness, and how you radiate peace in the midst of uncertainty. These small, everyday actions form the invisible architecture of a new reality. As your confidence grows, so does your discernment. No longer do you fall for empty promises or hollow gestures. You've become a natural filter, attracting the authentic and repelling the manipulative, often without a word. There's a new language you speak, one built not just on logic, but on intuition and trust in your own experience. This fluency is what makes your life a living example for others. Proof that you don't have to settle for cycles of pain or confusion. Even those who once underestimated you begin to seek your insight, drawn by the clarity that only comes from walking through fire and choosing not to stay burned. Most importantly, the healing you've cultivated is contagious. Those still wrestling with doubt or self-betrayal find unexpected encouragement in your journey. Without preaching, you show what it means to keep going, to trust the process, and to rebuild from the inside out. The ripple effect continues outward. Families start having more honest conversations, communities begin to embrace vulnerability over pretense, and whole networks shift their values. The movement you sparked, often in solitude, becomes a legacy of empowerment, courage, and lasting transformation, making it possible for others to believe that their own breakthrough is not just possible, but inevitable.